everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Richard Lewis Show. I'm Richard Lewis. The voice that you're about to hear probably in a moment or two is Sam. He's the producer. There it is. I don't know. We'll just cut this out, I think. Second worst intro to the show ever. I'll tell you what, though, Sam. I will tell you this. Gonna be a struggle. I am absolutely fucking exhausted. But I'll tell you why, Sam. My life at the moment, I'm kind of working 2 jobs, and apparently you're muted, by the way. Yeah, it's sick. So now it's the worst.
Now they don't even know what happened.
Yeah, it's just as well.
It's probably going to freeze as well for a few seconds. No, everyone's going to be like, stream's dead,
Ree. So yeah, terrible show. I mean, like, I'm not going to be able to carry it because I've been working effectively like 2 jobs at the moment. Because obviously there's the content job, and then there's the new job, and then obviously I've been looking after Maria as well, getting after, her surgery and stuff. And I had insomnia. I was up reviewing CS demos at 3 a.m. last night, like what on stream.
His life is gone.
Yeah, what the fuck's wrong with me? So yeah, pretty fucking beat. I'm in a bit of a trance-like state at the moment, so I have no idea what the quality of the show will be like. So we'll ease in gently. We'll talk about some general housekeeping show stuff. Weren't we meant to be launching a new T-shirt, Sam?
Yeah, we got it somewhere, man. I'm sure we can do it. I just need to know when. I need to press the upload buttons and that, don't I?
Can we do it like now?
Do a next show, is it? No, let's do a next show because I gotta set it all up.
All right, cool. So let's do that. I also I'll just do a little teaser. We got a sponsor. We actually have a sponsor, Sam. Yeah, finally enough to pay Sam a salary. It's a pretty big sponsorship deal. I'm really looking forward to announcing it. I know 5% of the audience is going to call me a sellout and, probably accuse me of all sorts of bullshit.
About 20% of our audience calls you a goblin's ball sack, usually. Mate.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say,
if you're going to go
given that me and Gigi Allen agree on one thing, the audience is my enemy, right? I think we'll just deal with that. I'm excited because we've never had a real sponsor on the show, not a proper sponsor. This is a proper sponsor. And as always, I had a verbal agreement with Sam that we'd split all the stuff the show made 50-50 down the middle. So Sam's come into 50% of a decent sponsorship deal. So the plan is to get Sam out here to stay in my house in Vegas and set up a mini studio and stuff in one of the rooms.
Lose it all.
Yeah, he's lost it all.
Rich, I gambled all the sponsorship money away. Sorry, mate. About that 50%, I'm going to have to owe you that one, mate.
So here's one thing I'll prepare you for, Sam. Scorpions, mate. Are you ready for scorpions?
What, they just roaming about, mate?
In the gym, yeah, in the garage.
You better be carrying a knife or something with you, mate. Getting fucking picked up by about a group of rogue scorpions.
Here's the thing. I've got a claw hammer around here somewhere, and I saw.
He's going around with hammers, mate.
Right? No, I saw the scorpion. It was like poised above the punch bag, and it was having. And so I thought, well, I'm just gonna I'll just smash it with a claw hammer, and it'll fucking know what time it is, right? So I fucking did that, and I swear it just bounced off the cunt. Dink! like
you can't hurt someone with an armor, mate. That's what you just concede, and it's like, you know what?
No, he had armor, mate. Dink! Off it went, and he just sort of crawled away back up to the vent. So, and I saw a couple of baby ones. Someone was telling me last night while we were doing the demo review. Apparently, if the baby ones sting you, it's worse because they don't have the brain to sort of like limit how much poison they put in.
So just kill you.
Well, no. Apparently, it's not lethal. Like it says, it says on the. I went on the Nevada Scorpion website, and it says basically if you get nipped by one of these little yellow ones, just put ice on it, and you might feel a bit sick. But if you do get sick and get a fever or you swell up like a balloon, probably go to a hospital. So, yeah. Doctors it is. So just preparing you for that when you get out here. But yeah, so t-shirts, sponsors, scorpions. I think we're covering all the bases here so far. So we should probably get into the show now. As per usual, there is a theme. The theme today, Sam, with a few minor exceptions, is going to be sex.
Right.
It's going to be a sexy show, Sam.
I have a feeling it's not, though, is it? Nothing about these stories are going to actually be sexy, are they?
Well, I've got to be careful, haven't I? Because it's
a man
Twitch.
Fuck a scorpion or something. Is that what we're building up to? Is this what this build-up was for? So listen, scorpions, sex. Yeah. Bring this one.
Man consumed by own bell end after scorpion sting. Nah, it's nothing like that. No, there's nothing to do with scorpions, I don't think. We'll see. But generally, there's a theme to each show, and this one's going to be about sex. It's a sexy show. Obviously, we've got the adult thing on. If you're offended by references to sex, this probably isn't the show for you. You can go back to being an incel. We can talk about that too. We're going to talk about incels. But before we get into it, obviously, we talk about a few things on the show. We've got recurring stories. Bitcoin, that's one of them. I'm just going to break this in gently with a throwaway headline I saw. Now, I've been critical of Bitcoin. You know my thoughts on cryptocurrency. I think it's all bullshit. I think people who invest in it, if you can get in, get out, make some money, more power to you. But it is bullshit. And just because you made some money doesn't not make it bullshit. That's like saying, well, I jumped out of a plane and landed in a haystack and lived, and it was a rush, so everyone should do it. It's totally safe. No, it's not, is it, though? It's just because you did okay doesn't mean that, as a rule, it works. And I hate them. I hate the sort of, especially the new, like, ICOs and the real predatory stuff, where it's like they operate in a space that's unregulated, and they operate in a space, unsurprisingly, where there's lots of young, naive people. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of trolling that goes on Reddit, but if like 1 out of 50 of the posts, where it's like, I lost everything on crypto, I lost it all on crypto. If one of those is true, it's like it's pretty.
There like a few suicides and shit when Bitcoin took that massive drop.
Yeah.
Because it went from like 16 grand to like 6. Sad.
Yeah. Like, and again, it's like it's people who aren't mentally prepared to invest. Like, there's a reason it works the way it works. There's a reason that it's regulated. I'm not saying like the main financial sector is like not just one big criminal. Like we all know banks, for example, are just a criminal conspiracy. The whole buyout thing that happened with mainstream banking is a disgrace. Where they fixed LIBOR rates globally, and it's like, right, okay, well, we've completely tanked the economy. It's up to the taxpayer to bail us out now. Just, well, all money is bullshit. But with it, there's bullshit within bullshit. You can have a banking system that kind of works and only fucks you a very small percentage of the time. Crypto just isn't that. It's not even that. It's worse than that. So, yeah, there's a reason it's all regulated, and it's like people need licenses, and people go to jail for fraud and lies. There's none of that in crypto. But that being said, I don't take it as harshly as this guy I'm going to introduce you to. This guy, he's a little bit... he's a bit more extreme than me, even when it comes to crypto. By the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, obligatory comment, about, you sound like an old man when you talk about crypto. It's the future. Why do you hate blockchain? Fuck off. I'm just going to start deleting those. That is proof that you're deranged if you type anything like that. Hate those cunts. Like they're just like the CrossFitters. I'm a crypto enthusiast. I do CrossFit. You wouldn't understand it. Yep. Right. Fuck off. Yep. Your dad does Zumba. Fuck off.
But I connect myself with elastic and sling myself around. It's great.
Right. But anyway, this guy is a guy called Berkshire Hathaway. He's like the chairman and CEO of I think he's. Hang on, let me get it right.
You know what I was gonna say? Was I gonna say a fucking monopoly? Look at him! Do not pass go. Do not collect $100. Like. But
yeah. Basically, so this guy. So this is Warren Buffett, I think. So it's something to do with Warren Buffett.
It.
Yeah. So it's Charlie Munger. My bad. Berkshire Hathaway is like a big sort of financial conglomerate. And this guy said, I mean, he's 94, so maybe just because he's got a bit of money, don't listen to what every 94-year-old has to say.
Imagine being 94 and still being on that graft. Like, how do you get up? Surely at one point just say, you know what? Fucking death me. Like, why do you grind your life out? You're like one of the richest men in the world and you work every hour of every day until you die. Doesn't sound like a good deal to me. Like, have a day off, mate. Go holiday or something.
You know what I mean? Or like 94 years old. I invented the banana. You wouldn't put it in a fucking... You wouldn't put it in the news. But anyway, here's what he said. When talking about Bitcoin, he said, suppose you could make a lot of money trading freshly harvested baby brains.
Let's calm down. Not quite the same, is it? Right? Is it manga?
Yeah. Would you do it? He asked. To me, Bitcoin is almost as bad. It's not though, is it, mate?
Not really. Like,
it's definitely not as bad as harvesting baby brains for sale. I've said a lot of things critical about Bitcoin. It's not as bad as harvesting brains out of babies and selling them for a profit. It's not that bad. It's definitely not bad, Munger. You're out of your mind. Yeah. So just wanted to get that out. Another thing we talk about on the show, of course, is motherfuckers on airplanes. And I'm going to tell you, like, I'm not a violent guy, Sam, despite how I am portrayed. But if there's ever one thing that would get me to slap somebody on a plane, it's when they, like, it's happened to me recently. I nearly flipped out. I was flying back from Indiana, and a little old lady got up to use the toilet at the front of the plane. So we were flying some shit airline where it's like you have to use your designated toilet.
Right.
You know, you can't use any toilet on the plane. If you're in the first half of the plane, you use the one at the front. If you're, you know what I mean? Like, just another stupid, needless rule. So the stewards can feel like heroes in the sky, you know? That post 9/11 hero vibe. And this woman, like, got up and she was pottering around. And she asked the, attendant, like, where's the toilet? And she said, it's there. It's there. And the woman turned to her left and walked towards the door of the plane.
Yeah, just go piss outside.
And, like, started reaching out to the...
Whoa.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck how old this broad is.
Launch your shoe at it. Hey, calm down over there.
The back of her skull. Like, what are you doing? What are you fucking... Do you understand? This is a pressurized container in the fucking sky. And if you open that door, we all just get sucked out. It's over, you fucking... So, and then, like, the woman went, no, but, like, trying to, downplay how ridiculous it would be. And then she went, no, that one. And then, like, she looked at the cupboard where they keep all the drinks, right? The toilet being here. And she turned back round to the fucking door. What? Twice. I was like, fuck. It's unreal. Right, can we just educate people? That door, never touch that door. Never near it. Again, I've been on flights, like the transatlantic flights, where people get up to stretch their legs, and some cunt just leans on it. Like, don't even lean on it.
I know, why even risk it? Like, why testing the stewardessy?
Yeah.
Just make sure it's rigid.
Leaning on it with a hand on her hip. Oh, yeah, man, yeah, can't wait. We're not going to get there if that door opens, mate. Who are these cunts that do this? Just makes it needlessly tense. Anyway, I always wondered, like, fucking what would happen. And here you go, Air China, mate. This is just so mental to me that, like, people don't understand how planes work, yet they're allowed. You should have to pass a test to get on a plane. I'm up in the ante now. No fucking children under 8 years old. No fucking animals. And if you're too dumb to figure out how a plane works, you can't fly neither. Boats for you, fucker. Like, you see if you can figure out water first, then we'll get to the sky, shall we? Right? But anyway, a Chinese passenger on Air China, a Chinese airline, I should say, called Lucky Air, said that the cabin was too stuffy and hot, and just opened the emergency exit.
Sorry?
Because it was too warm. And fortunately, it wasn't while it was like, while the plane was fucking getting ready to take off. So it wasn't in midair. But just open the emergency door. Well, I'll just get some air in here, shall I? What the fuck is wrong with people? The door fell off by...
Yeah, I don't think it's meant to be opened and closed, like.
But it's just like... And after being arrested, when asked why he did it, he was like, I just wanted to... Yeah. Mate, take the warmth. Take the warmth.
Warmth.
Just take the fucking warmth, innit? I don't want air circulating around my fucking plane, funnily enough. People are fucking dumb. And then, right, I also want to say, our hatred of birds is certain types of birds is pretty well known on this show, right? And I have said I hate swans, and I think swans are cunts. I think just as a breed of animal, like, we need to accept, right, that I hate this argument that people make about, there's no such thing as bad animals. Some animals do just have arsehole personalities. I have this argument all the time where, like, fucking people who own, like, dangerous dogs, right? Yeah. I've got nothing against these dogs. They obviously exist. You can't just fucking Thanos them away, right? But real talk. It's weird, isn't it, that when we talk about certain breeds of dogs and we go, there's no such thing as bad dogs, only bad owners. Why have I never heard of a border collie savaging someone to death? Why is it never a golden retriever that rips off a kid's face? It never happens, right? It's always a pit bull. It's always a Rottweiler.
Some breeds are more aggressive, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Certain types of animal are just fucking bellends. And fucking swans are massive bellends. You'll never meet a reasonable swan. You'll never meet one that's reasonable.
No, holy fuck.
You might meet one who's majestic. Still a bellend. Still a bellend. If you give it a chance, it's going to peck your eyes out, break your arm, whatever it can get away with. Swans are just like that. But I will say this. As much as I hate swans, I will never advocate for animal cruelty. Never. Right? Don't like that. Don't be cruel to them. Just fucking stay out the way. And if they attack you, definitely swing back. I'm not saying that.
Swing back.
Swing back. Straight up. If a swan gets wide and fucking squares up to you and fucking as soon as
mate, the Queen will arrest you. They can't uppercut the swan. Straight prison, mate.
Bring her down as well.
That's definite prison.
Bring her down. Bring your whole fucking crew. Let's go. You know what I mean? As soon as that wing, the swan's getting it. That's fair. Right? That's quality.
That's fair.
Fair rule.
Fair go. Square go, mate. Square go.
But even I, with my dislike of swans, can say this guy was unreasonable. He was unreasonable, mate. Right? This is from Florida, of course. Man arrested for practicing karate on swans by kicking their head.
Fucking hell. Get some pads, mate.
The man has been banned from
what's he doing, man? And look at the fucking photo of the mad cunt as well. Like some ripped Stevie Graham in This Is England. Like, he's just straight fucking kicking swans. Right?
Imagine the people who've seen this cunt going around. What the?
Stopping him, like. No one's going and saying, excuse me.
I don't know, mate. You can't go stop him. He obviously knows karate. Did you see what he just did to those swans? Not going to put myself in harm's way for no stupid swan.
So check it out, right? His punishment, he got banned from 2 parks. After being charged with animal cruelty for kicking several swans in the head for what he said was karate practice. Russell Mantella, what a fucking name, was seen by multiple witnesses at Lake Eola, Eola, attacking the swans as well as a sleeping duck.
What the fuck, mate? He's sucker punching them.
No, now that's outrageous. I didn't. I
Not even
wasn't.
having a square go with a duck. Like,
Yeah, a sleeping duck. What's that about? He's gone too far there.
rat.
Police were called in to stop Mantello, who was allegedly hitting the Swans as hard as possible. One witness claims the 34-year-old saw a reaction and then began to laugh about his crimes.
He must have
Orlando
been
police.
not sober, surely.
I don't know. Just look at him, mate. I think he's just
He's on
angry.
something.
Orlando police arrested Mantello on a charge of felony aggravated animal cruelty, alleging the animal abuser intentionally tried to cause serious injury or death to the Swans. Police were unable to find the injured animals after the incident were given called witness.
They've all gone and gone, look, fuck that guy, man. Let's fucking leave. Like, fucking kick me in the head. Oh,
just leave it, David. All right. He's mad. You can see. Look, just don't get in a fight. Come on. Let's go attack some...
I'll break that guy's arm. Hasn't he seen the fucking articles about me?
Let's just go attack some kids for having bread in their hands.
We'll team up with the seagulls and steal all the food.
Yeah. That's what we need to be afraid of, I think. The fucking Seagull and Swan Alliance.
That would fuck the entire world up.
The SAS, mate. When that happens, we're fucked. But yeah, what a mad cunt. So yeah, he's currently banned from entering the parks, and he's got a bond set of $1,000 while he awaits further charges. So he's gone. Right. Anyway, so now we can start. We're going to ease into sex and weirdness as the general thing. Let's just start with something, Sam. Babies, right? You know how babies have to have nappies?
Yeah.
And you know why that is, of course.
Yeah. Stop them shitting and pissing themselves everywhere,
Yeah. Yeah. Because, like, you know, they're babies, right? Like, well, I saw a very strange thing in the news just the other day. And I don't know, right? Like, and the thing with babies is they have to be looked after and cared for. They can't do anything themselves. They're not really cognizant of their surroundings. They're not developed enough to have concepts like shame, danger, you know, like they're babies.
Yeah.
So I saw this news story the other day where an expert actually said that if you want to change a baby's nappy, it is imperative that you ask the baby for permission before you do it.
One question. Babies can't fucking talk, can they?
Well,
that's the fucking problem, really.
Yeah. So I don't know if do you want to play the video? I watched this earlier. It's just as daft as what I'm. Yeah, all right. Hang on. Let me because it's a buffer. It's just 30 seconds. Let me know when you're ready, and we'll 3, 2, 1 it.
It's drugs, dude.
Yeah, it's a terrible embedded player. Desperate for them clicks and ads. Desperate, I say.
It's been buffering for 15 seconds. Everything else is still loading. Oh, the ads have just appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah, you'll get those.
I legit can't play it. Oh. Come on. There we go. And a massive fucking banner ad for Amy Schumer along with it.
Perfect.
Cheers. Right.
Together at last.
Ready?
Yeah,
3, 2, 1, go.
How young are some of the children you talk to?
We work from children from 3 years old. We work with parents from birth.
From birth?
Yeah. Just about how to set up a culture of consent in their home. So I'm going to change your nappy now. Is that okay? Of course, the baby's not going to respond, yes, Mum, that's awesome. I'd love to have my nappy changed. But if you leave a space and wait for body language and wait to make eye contact, then you're letting that child know that their response matters.
All right. So, Sam,
but
I get it. Yeah, go on.
What if they say no? Are we just going to leave them in shit? We'll just leave you fester in that shit. Give you all this nappy rash. Just infections, probably. I feel like hanging around in shit for days probably isn't ideal.
No, it's not. It's not, Sam. I should know. I've worked in esports for 15 years. So here's the thing, right? People say I throw this term around too much. But this this is a bit mental, isn't it? This is not how like normal people think about the world. Babies can't consent to anything. Consent requires
How young are some of the children you talk to?
a sort of fully developed understanding of situations. Because to be able to say yes implies you understand the ramifications of saying no, and vice versa. A baby cannot do these things. It is up for a parent to act in a child's best interest. That's just it. And the best interest is to change the nappy. What if the baby, like you say, what if the baby's very clearly not enjoying having its nappy changed? I've seen babies piss in the face of someone trying to change their nappy. Do you take that as a dirty protest and back off and leave them to it? Are we going to let children dictate what they should and shouldn't eat? What we need to accept that children, especially infants, right? Infants don't have any say. That's not to say that they should be abused. Obviously not. What I'm saying is they don't have any say. The parent has to take care of the kid. The carers have to take care of the kid. This idea of the baby doesn't understand what's going on. If you say to it, can I change your nappy, and then leave that space, and then go ahead and change the nappy, the baby doesn't understand that. It's not cognizant of what's going on. To try and even imply that, that's a thing is absurd. It shows that you do not understand the development of children at all. It is one of the most absurd things I think I've ever seen or heard of. But it doesn't surprise me at all that again, and it honestly, let's call it like it is. This is somebody who describes herself as a sexuality educator, speaker, and author, sort of using the current discussion about consent culture, which obviously is about adults and about Me Too and about abuses of power involving, sex in the workplace and things like this. Imagine using that to try and just get some attention on yourself, which is all this is. It's an absurd premise that a baby should give you permission before you change its nappy. It is ridiculous. Don't worry, Sam. Plenty more where that came from. Absurd lawsuits. I didn't know this. Do you like Dr. Dre?
Yeah, he's all right. Not bad.
I always thought he was all right. I watched that documentary, The Defiant Ones. It was on HBO. It talks about his rise to sort of where he is now. Right. And the first two parts of it are pretty good. I think is it 4 parts? Well, anyway, the last part just degenerates into an advert for Beats. And it's terrible. And it's like, ugh. But it tells some interesting stories along the way. And some of the trials and tribulations. And I always had a bit of a soft spot for him. I thought, this is a guy who he's from one of the poorest neighborhoods. He's undergone personal tragedy and he's made good, and now he's a fucking billionaire. I can dig that story. I can always dig that story. But they always go the same way, don't they? It's like that saying, you either die the hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah.
And I saw this absurd lawsuit. I didn't even know this was going on. This is Dr. Dre was having a legal battle for the trademark Dr. Dre with a real doctor, a gynecologist called Dr. Dry. Terrible name for a gynecologist, by the way. But this has been going on since 2015. Like, he's a real doctor. You can't. You can't say. Right. Listen, I call myself Dr. Dre because I'm like a doctor of beats and music and stuff. You're called Dr. Dre. It sounds a bit similar to me, and I think you need to change your name. That's beyond unreasonable.
You are a rapper, by the way, not just a doctor. Still changing.
Yeah. Fortunately, the judge said
Nah.
the judge said that it sort of wasn't reasonable to sort of go after a doctor for that. The argument was consumers would be unlikely to confuse the two.
Yeah.
Right. Imagine having to state this in court. And the quote is, Dr. Dre is not a medical doctor. Nor is he qualified to provide any type of medical services or sell products specifically in the medical or healthcare industry. And he also said, that was it. And the other doctor, when he gave his testimony, Dr. Dre, said, I would never try and trade on Dr. Dre's reputation because that would be a bad reflection on me as a doctor. He's said, look at these lyrics. They're misogynistic and homophobic. So Dr. Dre lost that one. But what an absurd thing to even attempt to go after. Like, we found this gynecologist in Pennsylvania with a name that sounds a bit like yours. Shut him down. Like, come on, mate. You got more money than fucking God at this point. Do you really need to do it, mate? Whatever. So that was that. Have you ever had fake tan?
No, I've seen it, I've witnessed it, but I've never put it on.
Never tanned yourself, never bronzed yourself?
No, surprisingly not.
I haven't either. I'm pale and proud, mate. Don't tan well, even in with the sun cream and all that nonsense. Don't think I've ever had a tan per se. Takes me like a few weeks to just sort of go pale blue. But I did. There's a big industry for fake tan. For some reason, people sort of associate tanned bronze bodies with health, and people like to look tanned. I've never understood it. But this woman, she applied some fake tan. Sam.
She's gone rogue, isn't she? She's gone rogue.
It's not necessarily that she went rogue. It just didn't work. And obviously there's always a risk. You're effectively sort of dyeing your skin, I guess.
Yeah. So
the headline tells you all you need to know, really. Woman left looking like Shrek. After her fake tan went seriously wrong. This is Danny Bruce, who literally dyed herself green. Now, what's hilarious is she lives in fucking Nottingham.
Right.
So down the road from that super mutant woman, right? Remember, the one who was just pointing a hairdryer at cars. So they should get together, super mutants and Shrek together at last. But just listen to this. I was having a meltdown. I looked in the mirror and my whole chest was green. I was hiding from everybody in the house. I had my hood up and the sleeves of my dressing gown down to my hands. I'd already shared it online. Yeah. You're really hiding from people in your house. I must just tweet about this. But no one in my house must know. So when I show photos of my green hands, I had people calling me the Hulk and Shrek. So, but she's good. She also added at the end, I am quite notorious for having bad tanning incidents. Maybe get a grown-up to help. That'd be my advice. Maybe a grown-up could help you apply that tan. Someone, that doesn't have some sort of issue. Fucking hell, Sam. This planet, mate. All right, and then couple more, and then we're gonna start getting into the meat of it. We've talked about this before as well, how Narcissists. Narcissists. We're all narcissists. Social media, as I've said for many years now, social media has made us all ill. It has made us all mentally ill, and we don't know it. And we go about our lives thinking, I'm sure, a lot of us are okay, but probably a lot of us aren't, and we think we are. And the sort of culture of having to impress upon everybody else that your life is more interesting than theirs. Like what social media ultimately did is it turned life from something that happens to you and then you die. And really it's about setting yourself a series of values and standards and goals that you apply to your journey towards death. And you try and maximize the enjoyment as you define it. Instead, social media basically turned it into one big competition you have with your mates, which is why everyone lies. You never guess what happened to me. Regurgitate plot of some romantic comedy you hope no one has seen. You'll never guess what happened to me.
Lies.
Yeah, just lies. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. But on top of that as well, people are now like engaged in taking risks all of the time to sort of show off. Just, hey, look how cool and exciting. Like, why is selfie death a thing? Why is it like, right, well, this is super dangerous, but if I get this picture, it's going to be so good. Everyone will have to eat my shit then. My life's better than your life. Right? Why do people do that? So this is one of the most absurd selfie deaths I think I've ever heard. Like trying to take a picture of a big panoramic view and then falling off a cliff. That's pretty dumb. Putting your head out. Hey, look, there's a train.
Smart.
Yeah, right? That's pretty dumb. This is just beyond fucking dumb, right? Because I'll tell you one thing about wild animals. They wild. They are fucking wild. Clue is in the name. They don't play by your rules. They don't care about your selfie. Right? They don't care. They don't care about how you want to get one over on your fucking friends on Facebook and how you want to look important. They don't care about any of that. My advice to anybody who watches this show, bears are great animals. Big fan of bears, actually. I like them. But you got to be careful around bears.
Oh, yeah, bear fuck you up, mate. It's a killer machine.
Yeah, but equally as well, sometimes they're friendly, like just big oversized.
Yeah, but I mean, they are built to maul you to death. That is what they especially trained to do.
This is what's mad about bears, right? Like 1 minute, they're all sniffy, snuffly. Oh, it's a big dog. This is fine. They are bred to kill. They will absolutely fuck up your whole world. Anyone who's seen that documentary, Grizzly Man, you ever watch that?
Yeah. The guy who
that
lived amongst the
who
bears.
lives with the bears. Yeah. One day they're just going to get sick of your shit, mate. And again, keep in mind, right? Have you ever lashed out at anyone that you actually cared about? Of course you have. We do it all the time. Difference is we're human. So when we lash out, we tend to do it verbally, very rarely physically. But, even we have the capacity to kill somebody by accident when we're in a bad mood. And it's the same shit whenever an animal does it. They all go, oh, but he raised this wild animal from a cub. Why did it happen? It's a wild fucking animal. It's got claws and teeth. What do you think happens when it has a bad day? And it can't tell you it's having a bad day and get the fuck out my face. You're doing your routine, right? So anyway, there was this geezer in India, and he wanted to get the perfect selfie. And he noticed that there was a bear by the side of the road. And it was just sort of lying there. Now, the problem is the bear was wounded. It obviously got in a fight with another form of wildlife, or it hurt itself in some way. And this geezer, as reported in the Hindustan Times, decided that he would get the ultimate selfie of him next to a sort of, docile, placid bear. But what happened was, as he went to take the selfie, the bear, because it was wounded and it was feeling a bit weak and was immediately threatened, it just mauled him to death, Sam. It straight mauled him to death. And I'm going to guess that put a bit of a dampener on the selfie. So, yeah, it mauled him to death and then sort of dragged the body off into the woods to maul it some more. And they turned up and tranquilized the animal. Fortunately, they didn't put the bear down, which I think is reasonable. They're actually treating the bear for its injuries. Can't blame the bear.
If you approach a bear, mate, you know what I mean? You know the risks. If you're approaching a bear, you've already signed the fucking consent form.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. You want to take that gamble to get a selfie, that's on you. If they put that bear down, that would have been sad.
Yeah, that would have been outrageous.
Yeah. So I'm glad that not only is the bear getting the best care available in a hospital, it's not going to be punished for the crime of defending itself from a strange drunk man who was coming back from a wedding trying to think, I know how I will outdo my friends' amazing lives. This picture of me with a bear will surely do it. Now you're dead. How did that work out for you? Bad idea. Stop with this insane, dangerous selfie nonsense. Fat people, Sam.
Indeed.
Fat people. Now, I'm overweight. I've been working on it. Like I say, people have commented I've lost weight. I'm back in the gym now. Been working out regularly, so I'm kind of like trying to convert fat into muscle. And up top, it's going well. Still got a bit of the gut. That's going to take some time. As long as the scorpions leave me alone, I'll be able to get in the gym that I've built on the reg, and hopefully by the end of 2018, look less like a mess, right? Which is fine.
Ideal.
And again, yeah, ideal, right? And I've said this. I don't mind as an overweight guy when people say you should probably lose some weight. It's like, oh yeah, thanks for noticing. That is a very good suggestion, right? It's fine. Like people throw fat around as an insult. I think if you try and do it as an insult, it's kind of weak. But the reality is, we can all agree with one thing: like being fat isn't good. It's not good. It's suboptimal. There was probably a time in human history when being fat was fine, right?
I mean, it was always suboptimal, wasn't it? It was always unhealthy.
No, because there's period. The reason we store fat the way we do.
Nah, but I mean, like fat, like we'll be obviously like more heavy than we are now, sure.
Well, you remember all the medieval motherfuckers, like that have
they
like
were dying at like 30, though, mate. Who knows?
Yeah. But like it was considered a sign of opulence and wealth.
Yeah. But I mean, just like health.
They all had gout.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
But anyway. You know how it is. I mean, like for me, how we eat now because of mass-produced food and everything else, like we're seeing increased instances of people being fat. It's generally poor people who are obese and fat. It's kind of the inverse of what we used to see, hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. But it's just like, you shouldn't be fat. It's not good for you. We've got some insanely fat people now. Like we must have some people who are the fattest people ever in human history. Like I watch all those like reality shows when they come on, and it's like, was it Jerry Springer that had the guy who was like
cut out the wall to bring him to hospital?
they had to cut out a wall to airlift him to a hospital. I watched this other documentary. You can get it on YouTube. Called Fat Girls and Feeders. Always stayed in my mind. And basically it's about the sort of codependent relationship between the morbidly obese and men who have sexual fantasies about the morbidly obese. And what happens is the men get these fat women and then they feed them up to a point where they become so fat they can no longer care for themselves. And right, exactly. So these men, again, like these weird fucked up predators, you can go watch the documentary Fat Girls and Feeders. It was on Channel 4 in the UK. There's this mad quote where this guy who looks like Napoleon Dynamite's brother is going, and I like to call myself an enabler. She wants to have all of the finer things in life. I provide those things. She wants for nothing. And then after that, it's a really good impression.
That's a creep. That's what I saw though.
No, sorry, mate. I would be a great voice artist. Literally, I'm available for voice work. And if you ever need a creepy feeder in a video game, come get me. But anyway, so this guy, and then what he does is, after giving that speech about how he's an enabler, he takes you round the house, and he's built like winches.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like Willy Wonka, like even the walls are edible. You can just lick the wallpaper.
Because he has to like lift her out of the bed to get her, and he's built all of these things. And like there's this one scene where he talks about how to get her big because she was losing weight and he didn't know why. He funneled liquid fat, like a funnel, and just fed her liquid fat. It's insane. Fat Girls and Feeders. So I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Like, it's the size of some people we have today. It's just mind blowing. Like, do you remember when you were like? I grew up in the 80s. Do you remember the fat kid from the Goonies?
Yeah, he was just chubby, wasn't he? No, he's just a regular kid.
He's even fat. He weren't even fat. He just had a little bit of puppy fat, and they had him. He was doing the truffle shuffle. Yeah, but he just wasn't. He's not even. He'd be the thin kid in the movie now. Like, he'd be the cool kid. Like, it's fucking mental, isn't it? So there's definitely something wrong. There's definitely something going on. But anyway, all deranged, mad tangents as usual in my tired brain. But there was a story from Birmingham, right? And I don't even understand why this is a story. First of all, you're going to be buckled immediately, right? So you're going to be buckled by the headline, and then you're going to be super buckled by the picture in the fucking story. This is from Birmingham, right? Taxi firm accused of banning 55-stone couple after the suspension breaks on 2 cabs.
On 2 cabs?
Yeah, 2. They broke 2. They were that big. Hey, but look at this. You scroll down.
Why has he got an owl, mate?
Why is he owling? Why is he owling?
Why has he got an owl?
Hey, Marcus Edwards, he's 29, by the way. Like it's like
I was going to say Stone, but he's even heavier than that.
yeah. He's like, I'm morbidly obese, but check out this fucking owl. Why is he owling? Could they not find?
Brings his food to him, mate.
Just a regular photo, please. Just a regular picture.
Crisps.
Then you scroll down, and is Mrs. is there? She's 19 stone, which I suppose in the ground. So do the math. That makes him 36 stone, Sam.
Yeah,
So,
it's written there.
yeah. So she's not even that big, but like she shouldn't get any of the blame really for breaking the tax.
No, they should have just said 36-stone man breaks suspension.
Yeah, exactly. But she's a porker, like no doubt about it. And she's straight snaking for some reason. I don't even understand why that's going on. He's owling, she's snaking. What is going on, motherfucker? They're just wilding out in that house. What is it, fucking Jumanji? What I mean?
Look at that picture, mate. Looks like she's squatting it.
I know,
doing deadlifts with a snake. Like, oof.
I'll get. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why she's overweight. She's just been exercising with fucking snakes instead of weights all the time.
He's lifting owls.
Yeah, he's owl lifting. Right.
Nice owl curl. Get my biceps up.
So anyway, just read this, okay? And this is a hard bit of the show. This is Sam. I mean, this is really it's tough not to laugh, right? I am obese because of my medical problems. Now, first, this is what Marcus had to say for himself, the owl man. I do want to say I would wager a lot of his medical problems probably come from the obesity, not the other way around. I'm just going to go on record and say that's my gut, no pun intended, feeling. You know what I mean? Like, let's just look at the list of problems that he has. It says he's got cellulitis in his legs. That's fat. Body fluid problems.
Fat.
He has blood clots in his lungs and heart. Probably from not doing exercise. Probably it's because you got fat.
And eating all that fat.
Yeah, definitely, right? So I'm just going to... my gut feeling here is that, the medical problems are caused by being fat. I don't think him being... I mean, sure, when you're fat, that then causes medical problems. But I think at 29...
Yeah, but the condition is fat.
Yeah, there's a way out, You can still get out of this, Marcus. But anyway, I am obese because of my medical problems. But this is discrimination against large people like me, pure and simple.
No,
mate.
You just don't fit, mate. You're breaking my cars. Don't know what. I ain't got a fucking construction crane available to me, mate. Sorry, if it was, I'd charge you for it, but I ain't.
You're breaking a car when you get in a car, and the people who own the cars are saying, stop getting in the cars because you're breaking the cars. That's not discrimination. You're breaking a car. It can't even take you anywhere afterwards, can it? What do you want to do? You just want to keep trying cars all day till they find one with the fucking suspension.
Golden suspension, like this is the one.
What's he talking about? He goes on. I don't believe I have knackered 2 cars' suspensions. I think they just don't want a person of my size around them. They should realize I suffer from a disease called obesity. After all the money we have spent with them, they should be ashamed. I don't care how much money you've spent. Put it this way, unless it's more than the cost of 2 cars, they're down on the fucking deal, you mad fat cunt. They're like, what is that? After all the money we've spent, yeah, we had to replace 2 cars. How did you spend 60 grand with this taxi firm? Nah. All right, sound. We are both angry and upset with their attitude. We think they are persecuting us because we are overweight, but we can't help it. Definitely can help it.
Stop it.
Definitely can. We all can help it.
It's not a disease.
Yeah. But then, we live in a time, don't we, where it's like, again, this is what I mean. This is one of the big shift in society as a whole. It can all be distilled down to this. We went from accepting if something doesn't work because of me, you don't change the entire system to accommodate the individual. We all tacitly accepted that in everything, right? Everything we do, like, sure, some things will feel unfair or unreasonable, but if it works for the majority, generally what used to happen is that the minority who were, it might have been unfortunate that this particular system didn't work for you, you just wouldn't change it, you just would sort of deal with it. So, for example, fairground rides. It says you must be this tall to go on a roller coaster, right?
But I have
now,
a
it doesn't
disease
say that.
called short. So
Yeah. Doesn't say that because the people who made roller coasters hates midgets. Right? It's because if you are below that height, there's a chance you'll slip out when it goes upside down and plummet to your death. No one's persecuting you. It's a safety restriction. You must be this tall, right? Well, with fatness, there's just no reasonable approach anymore. You can see that people claiming they're discriminated against because they're so fat they collapse a car when they get in it, and when the company who owns the car says, "Listen, you're a bit of a heifer. Can you just stop fucking up my cars?" so I can run a fucking business. People cry discrimination. Then, of course, over in the Huffington Post, constantly trying to peddle fat shaming as some sort of great discriminatory crime of our times. I was kicked. This headline, Sam. I was kicked off the Harry Potter ride for being too fat for the seat. This is an article on...
Mate, tell you what, right, speaking of that, do you know what was a big turning point in my motherfucking life, mate? I went to a park, I can't remember what it was, it might have been fucking Thorpe or whatever, one of these amusement parks, right? I got into the roller coaster bit, and I started pulling on the bar, I was like, but I think I'm too fat to ride but. And I legit was starting on the park, I was like, what the fuck, but I'm too fat to ride human things. And then eventually, but I just, boom, squeezed it in, but I just about locked in. My stomach was just like squeezing around it. I was like, never again will I feel this embarrassment where I can't fit into something designed for humans, man. This is too much.
I think the first time you get the double belt on the net,
that's a fucking killer, man.
That's a pause for thought. You're like, trying to get the fucking belt in the middle, and the fucking hostess comes over and fucking says, "Excuse me, sir. Well, it looks like you will require an additional belt."
Looks like you are two humans, sir. We will get the additional human strap.
The double belt, mate. The double belt will make you fucking think maybe I should lay off those delicious pies, maybe for a bit. Right, till I'm back to single belt.
Fuck it, I just won't fly. Give me the food. Where's that funnel?
And again, by the way, I don't mind if you want to be fat, right?
Yeah. Eat your life free. Go ahead.
Yeah, just fucking have at it. I believe in personal freedoms. What you then can't do is go to a fucking theme park, and when you physically cannot fit into a seat, or you spill over into the other seats, creating a potentially dangerous situation for people on a ride, or just an unpleasant situation. Well, nah, it's time for someone to intervene and say, maybe fucking Gryffindor Tower's not for you. Like, it just is. It's just how it works. You can't fit. But not according to this Huffington Post journalist, who basically sort of complains about it. You know? And some of it's pretty cringe. Lines such as, I did what any new Hogwarts student would do after being warned that she might be excluded. I bounded into the line with my friends, and we were soon dazzled by the intricate details of the Hogwarts School of Wizardry. I wish... I don't know what it is about sort of like leftists and Harry Potter, but it was a shit book for kids. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. It's a great kids book. It's just a shit book when compared to the pantheon of modern literature. Great kids book. Anything that encourages kids to read, I'm on board with. Even though there was that weird moment where having the latest Harry Potter was a fashion statement, and parents were fucking braining each other in shops and getting into fights to make sure they got a copy for their kid. But anything that makes reading kind of fashionable and desirable, all about that life. If you're in your 20s and you're reading Harry Potter and quoting Harry Potter as if this is some sort of like great book that adults should draw from wisdom, you're fucked in the feed.
Yeah, I loved Harry Potter when I was a kid, mate. I had the wands, I had all the fucking accessories. Guess what? Grew up a bit, didn't I? Turns out, got bored of wizardry a bit. It was cool, yeah, it was good when I was a kid. Yeah. Not so much now.
But yeah, so she constantly talks about Harry Potter. She was asked not to get on the ride. She goes here, one of the 20-something, she's 35. This is the thing as well. She's 35, Sam, and she's complaining about people at the theme park enacting health and safety regulations. One of the 20-something ride managers walked over and asked Salt to step off because of a safety issue. I'll tell you what, right? You know how elevators have weight limits? Why don't you and a couple of your fatty friends get to an elevator while it's at the top and push it past that weight limit. I mean, nothing will happen, actually, because they are safe. But if you want to fucking take your life in your hands, you do it together. You all blame the elevators for being discriminatory. It's safety. Things have limits. Machines have limits. You can't just... Right, this machine must be able to cope with my unbelievable girth. It's mental. What's wrong with you? We were ushered through a door to what looked like a backstage area where another 20-something employee rattled off a spiel about safety and 3 clicks and having to try out a safety seat. That's when we all knew I hadn't made it onto the Hogwarts ride.
There will never be 3 clicks.
Like that Native American advert. Right? And then look, bite me Hogwarts ride. She said, eating a churro and drinking a big gulp.
Guess you'll never get to ride it then, will you?
You're the fucking real winner there, love. You're the real winner there. Like, fucking hell, come on. You're just too fat for the ride. Just deal with it, mate. Just fucking deal with it and move on. Find something that can accommodate your size. How about that? All right. So I did say there was a theme. Sex. Sex turns everyone mental, Sam. Sex has become so overly important in the minds of people. For many years, this isn't a recent phenomenon. People judge themselves by sex, relationships, and yeah, people think if I'm not getting sex, I'm not successful. You see this a lot on online communities. They throw around virgin as an insult. They know it's a barb that will sting in the mind of the virgin. Actually, all studies kind of prove that, people like there's certain demographics that are having sex younger and younger, but there's also certain demographics that are leaving it longer and longer. So there's quite an interesting divide. People waiting to have sex isn't as rare as you think. But anyway, it's just such a primal thing, and it's so ingrained into you on like on some weird fucked up DNA level. Like they say, this need to procreate or whatever. And then you sort of temper that with society saying, yeah, we can actually do it recreationally. I know. You just see all this weird shit sort of come tumbling out of that mental mess. Here's a story from Kansas, of course. Man arrested for attempting to have sex with his car. He got burns because he put his penis in a tailpipe.
Definitely don't do it after you've turned it on, mate. Let it cool down. Fucking hell. Officers
were there. Right, officers turned up after people called. There was a man with his dick in the tailpipe of his vehicle. Police officers turned up and tried to dissuade him from having sex with the car. He would not listen to commands, so they ended up tasing him. That'll teach him.
Electrocuted and a burnt knob. What a shit day.
Rough day at the office, right? There was another documentary on Channel 4, funnily enough, about this, about what they call paraphilias, and I forget what it's called for cars. Let me see if I can find it.
I don't know if I saw it on like chat. It meant to be one of those old Channel 4 ones. Then when they used to do all those random shows, yeah, I remember that.
My Car Is My Lover, it's called.
Good title.
My car is my lover. And it's literally people who have sex with their cars.
Wasn't there one who got married to their car? I think it might be the woman who got married to their car, actually.
Oh, yeah. Keep it classy, I suppose. People are saying it's called mechanophilia. That can't be true.
Mechanical, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, so people are out there having sex with cars, Sam. Then people getting weird sexual kinks out of just shitting in public. Right? Do you remember? I think we did this story. There was a story from New Jersey where they were trying to track down a phantom pooper. Do you remember this? There was a guy.
Oh, yeah.
Someone was going around shitting on a high school track, and the running track, and they were finding like human feces there all the time, and they were like, "Who is the Phantom Pooper?" Well, they found the Phantom Pooper.
Oh shit!
They've got the Phantom Pooper, Sam. It was the high school superintendent. Of course it was.
What?
Because it's a sexual kink, isn't it?
Fucking hell.
If no one's gonna go and take a shit in public and unless there's some like the fucking environment where they're doing it, the taboo, right, has some sort of special significance to them. Obviously, it was someone from the school. It was never going to be just some random person who was turning up and doing it every day.
Gonna be one guy just wrecking everyone, of course. Someone who hated one of the runners. Shit in his track every day.
But yeah, so I'll read. He got caught in the act after they set up an advanced surveillance.
They've CCTV'd him having a shit.
Yeah, mate. Just look at his picture, mate. Look at his mug shot. Like, look how mad he is at getting
As if
caught.
he continued shitting after they released the whole Phantom Poop.
Yeah. Yeah. Still doing it. Well, because that's the danger, innit? It's like having a wank with the fucking door unlocked. Probably. But just look at his fucking mugshot, mate. Look how reamed out. Fuck. I'll have to live with this now. This isn't as kinky or sexy as I thought it would be. Now I'm just known as the Phantom Pooper. It's mental, innit? What a thing to get arrested for. So yeah. The Phantom look at him. Oh, his picture. So yeah, the Phantom Pooper. Then you got voyeurs, people who like to fucking spy on other people. I never got that. Don't understand that. But obviously that's popular with perverts as well. This is a story. Actually, there was a journalist from CNBC, I think, just pleaded guilty to putting hidden cameras in his own house toilet because he wanted to spy on his 18-year-old nanny. Journalists, of course. Yeah, they're doing God's work. But anyway, we're not talking about that story. But this guy really wanted to have a peep, mate. This guy was desperate for a peep. And this is a man tried to crawl into a vent in a woman's bathroom, and he got stuck and just died of thirst.
He died?
Oh, he
What, he
died,
didn't even start
mate.
screaming or nothing?
I don't even know.
Did he say, you know what, this is how I'm going to go?
It seemed just like any other maintenance problem at first. I love journalism. I love when they tell me a story, Sam. I love it when they tell me a story. It seemed just like any other maintenance problem at first. In a downtown Calgary shopping mall Monday morning, a toilet in the fourth-floor woman's bathroom just wouldn't flush, and a mall employee was called to fix it. Attached to the wall behind the toilet was a panel with sensors that automatically flush when someone moves. Emma Poole, a spokeswoman from the Calgary Police Service, told the Canadian Press. When the maintenance worker removed that panel, he found a gruesome sight. Behind the toilet, hidden inside the wall, was a dead body.
Fucking hell.
Mystery surrounded the discovery. Who was this man, and how did he die? Police have not publicly identified him. Yep, spare his kids that. But investigators said they ruled out foul play. So basically, this geezer in Calgary tried to crawl through a vent to get to the toilet. Look up while people were doing their business and just got stuck and somehow just died. I imagine panicked, maybe, heart gave out, suffocated, died of thirst. Take your pick.
None of them great.
But none of them, definitely not. But he died to get a spy of someone having a poo, Sam.
Fucking hell.
Mad, isn't it? What the fuck? What's wrong with all these people, man? They've all just gone mad. They've been driven mad. Now, also, there was a film, right? What was it called? The new Guillermo del Toro one. Is it Shape of Water? Yeah, Shape of Water.
Sounds like it.
And I haven't watched it yet, even though I like Del Toro. But I've been told it's about a woman that falls in love with a fish monster, like the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Right.
And they get it on. Right? Which is fine. I'm all right with that. But just in case you were ever in any doubt about, like, you know, these terrible outlets like the Huffington Post and BuzzFeed, they will just desperately do anything, latch on to anything to sort of harvest clicks based on popular phenomenon. They'll just lie through their teeth, say anything they need to do just to get you to click on the article. And that apparently is journalism now. Journalism went from being, here's the truth, and we're going to tell you the truth because you need to know the truth, to we are going to try and trick you emotionally into clicking onto our shit. That was it. I mean, you know, I think we can all agree this one, the first one, doesn't really exist anymore. So the Huffington Post, off the back of The Shape of Water, wanted to ask a very simple question, Sam. I suppose it's a good question in a lot of ways. Why is fish sex so hot right now?
So in right now.
An investigation. And I was like, well, I wasn't aware that fish sex was so in right now. Is it in right now? Is that what the kids are doing, Sam? Are the kids doing the fish sex?
According to this article, eh?
Well, no, but again, you see, it didn't fool me. It didn't fool me because I do the I do the Control and F now. So even on something, why is fish sex so hot right now? I'm like, Trump. It's always Trump. Always Trump. Trump's always involved. So I was like, how is Trump driving women and men to having sex with fish? How? Well, it's in there, mate. This is why women want to fuck fish. It's because they can't trust men anymore. You see? Here it goes. Guillermo del Toro's Oscar-winning The Shape of Water seemed to have arrived during an inflection point for heterosexual relations, as some straight women have thrown their hands up in despair at the prospect of dealing with straight men. These men who grope us, straight men, of course, we're all
straight men,
all rapists. These men who grope us and talk down to us and consistently fail to clean the bathroom. That's all the same things. That cardinal sins. Abuse us in the workplace, sexually assault us, and you don't clean the bathroom. We're supposed to make lives with them, let them touch us. Women woke up one day to find that their husbands voted for Donald Trump and their sons have been shitposting on incel boards. There it is, Sam. This is why women want to fuck fish. This is it. It was Trump and the incels. They did it. So this is why fish are now viable sexual partners, because it's incels. It's the incels. Your son's an incel, and your husband voted for Trump. So go fuck a fish man. Journalism, 2018. Anyway, we're going to come back to incels, as I promised. Stalkers. Pretty mental. Often sexually charged. I did see this one. I don't like it when people trivialize stalkers. This is kind of just unrelated to the general thing, but we'll fit it in anyway. This was somebody claiming to be terrified about an Amazon delivery driver because apparently the delivery driver left an angry, unpleasant, and aggressive note. And they were worried that because the Amazon driver knew where they lived, that the Amazon driver was going to stalk them. And I was like, fucking hell, this must be one hell of a note. Well, you can see, here's the note, Sam. You tell me how scared this is. Sorry we missed you. We left your parcel with your neighbor, and then answer your phone, exclamation point, sort of sad, angry face. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the Muppets, 10 being the scariest thing of all time, where do you rate that message, Sam?
Probably like a 2. That maybe a 3. That is an angry face, mate. The eyebrows are pointed down. Maybe a 3. I'll push that to a 3.
Okay, so do you think it's reasonable to claim that note has given you anxiety? Because David Kirk went on a bit of a tear about this. That's the guy who received the note. And he went on Facebook, Sam, and he left a message for Amazon. Do you think failed delivery notices with angry comments left by Amazon delivery drivers is acceptable? Should have been R. Do you think the response of we have passed on details of the incident to management of the carrier in question, the nature of the investigation is internal, so you won't be contacted with an outcome, is acceptable when the above is complained about? I'd say no. And I am sure the majority of your customers would agree. I'm an Amazon customer. I think you're mental, Mr. Kirk. I think you're out of control. I think you are a fucking Jobsworth, a fucking miserable prick with just nothing going on in your life. And you see this as an opportunity for a fucking payday of some sort. Not even a major payday. Probably just a £50 gift voucher. And then you'll brag to all your mates about how you took Amazon down. You know, I fleeced Amazon. I took them down to fucking Chinatown. And I got my $50 gift card. What a fucking bellend. Yes. This is what happened to me on Saturday. I received this very unpleasant and aggressive note from one of your logistics drivers who was also reportedly rude to a neighbor of ours. Bring the neighbor in on the conspiracy. I'll get you a £50. Gladys, I'll get you a £50. All right. Just say he was rude when he left the parcel. What grounds would he have for being rude? Oh, can you look after this parcel for your neighbor, please? Well, I never. There's that voice work again. I am available. When I reported this to Amazon, I got the above response. You mean you got the standard, we will investigate your complaint response that everyone gets no matter what they complained about? The driver could have broke into your house, shit in the fridge, and shot your nan. You would still get that automated... You would still get that automated response. Like, it's automated. It's Amazon. Do you know how big they are? Fuck, you know what? An angry smiley face? Quick, get the strike team. This is totally unacceptable. And as per my last correspondence with Amazon, you're not having correspondence with Amazon, by the way. You're getting automated messages back. There's no correspondence implies a two-way, no. Unless I receive an acceptable update with what actions have been taken to ensure this does not happen again, and I receive suitable redress for the anxiety this aggressive note has caused my family, who are now fearful of opening the door to Amazon drivers, I will post this complaint in every public forum I can find, and furthermore will be contacting the local and national press. Please do, Mr. Kirk. I recommend The Pratt. That's a publication you might want to check out.
Sure, the Onion would be really interested, though, to be fair.
Sad Cunts, that's a good publication. Absolute Losers. Grifters Anonymous, that's a good one. Frivolous Lawsuits, that's a publication I recommend. Just mad. Anyway, that's not the kind of stalker I want to talk about. I definitely want to laugh at that cunt because he's a fucking joke. Sexual stalkers, Sam. Right. Now I'm gonna tell. Well, I'll ask you first. You ever been with someone who just wouldn't take the fucking hint and then wouldn't leave you alone afterwards?
Not terribly. Kind of. Nothing bad.
I had one. It's happened to me once. There was this girl. We'll call her Katie. That's her name.
Should have said that. I would have cheesed it away with it.
No, it's not really. Or is it? All right, there you go. I've some confusion and doubt. But yeah, I was with this. I was seeing this chick called Katie. Now the thing was, she was like, all right, but she was sort of like a 0 to 100 kind of chick. Like it was. I thought we were dating. She believed we were in a relationship. She didn't understand. Like very quickly. Like by date 2, she didn't understand why I might want to go out with other people. Couldn't get it. And where the relationship ended for me was I went out with the lads after, texting her, can't meet tonight, see you Sunday or something. And she knew some of my friends and found out which friends I was with. And then turned up to where we were, and she must have gone to like multiple bars to find me, and turned up and was like, "Hey, well, I'm here now, so you can hang out with me." And I was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Right, I know how this fucking story ends. I've seen Fatal Attraction. I like my pet rabbit." So I'm not saying I handled the situation great. I did call her a window licker. That's regrettable. It's the only time I've ever used that as an insult. God. I was just like so outraged. My mind just couldn't process what was happening. And I went, "Don't you fucking get it, you window licker? Want to be out with ease, not with you. We'll do our thing. Not now, though. You're mad." So, no, maybe didn't handle it. But even then, even in my outrage, she was going, "Ooh, what's got into you?" Like we were going to style it out. Like there was going to be like an afterwards.
Vintage Richard.
Yeah. She was like, she said to her like, "Oh, well, I can see you're in a bad mood, so I guess I'll leave you to it." No, fucking leave me forever, you mad cunt. Like, this is done. This is too mental. This is like we've been together, like we've been seeing each other on and off for like 6 fucking weeks. This is mad. Here's the fucking picture. You're not in it. Fuck off. It's just insane. I never had that before, But I've heard horror stories from like my other friends, men and women, right? Just about partners that will just not get the fuck out your life, or like people who have one date and then, hey, we done it. So here's a story. I can tell you. I got caught on the hop one time. I've been on the flip side of this. I had a bad breakup with some bird, and I wanted to do something nice for her, right? I wanted to get her a gift. She'd always talked about this like particular book, and so I was like, I'll get her the book as a present and see if there's still a way we can talk, Well, no, because we were fiery. So we had fight, breakup, makeup, sex.
Yeah. All in a cycle.
Yeah, comfort, argument, breakup, and it went like that. So I thought we were still in that loop. I didn't get the memo. Actually, we weren't in that loop. And I got her I bought her this gift that she'd been raving about for ages, like some ultra rare book that she wanted, and I hadn't seen her we hadn't talked for like a week or about that, like 5 days or whatever, like just cooling off period. And I got her this gift and I went to her place to drop it off. And as I was dropping it off,
she was leaving.
No.
Okay.
She got back from work to find me in the lobby of her apartment. It wasn't a good look. She got pretty upset with that. There was some screaming about what I was doing here. There was a scene, basically. And I was like, "No, I got you the book you want." The book had to be there without me, I think. I think if I could have If I could have got in, got out, left the book with a wicked note inside, like, give me a call or whatever, that would have been baller. Instead, getting caught with the book in my hand, not baller. Scary. Frightening. So it's a fine line, Sam. Relationships are complicated. Like it's a fine fucking line. But anyway, this is just mental. These relationships will make you scared. Full blown scared. Right. This woman, 31. It's too much, this. Woman, 31, stalked a man after one date, sent him 65,000 texts saying she wanted to bathe in his blood and thinking Hitler was a genius.
Fucking hell.
She's a keeper.
Her box is gone.
Box full gone. Jacqueline Aids of Phoenix is charged with threatening and intimidating, stalking and harassment. A man from Paradise Valley told police Aids became obsessed with him after one date and would send him 500 texts a day. Aids was allegedly caught taking a bath in the man's house while he was away, and police found a butcher knife in her car.
Fucking hell.
After being arrested, Aids proceeded to send the man threatening messages, one of which read, "Oh, what I would do with your blood, I'd want to bathe in it." In another message, Aids allegedly compared herself to Adolf Hitler and praised the Nazi mass murderer as a genius. She was arrested. She showed up at the man's work and pretended to be his wife.
What?
Get me off this wild fucking ride. One date. What the fuck did this guy do? What the fuck did this guy do? That must have been one hell of a date.
Fucking hell.
He must have held the door open. Just thought that is just wild shit. So crazy. She reassured police she had no intention of hurting the man, and only sent
nah.
I only
like that, like.
in his blood and had a knife in my car. Aids later acknowledged that her statements were crazy, but she did it because she loved him and feared he would leave her. He'd already left. It was one day. One date, I say. Mental. So there was that. This one, more horrifying. So this is about a teenage girl who was obsessed with human sacrifice. Another keeper. She stabbed her partner during sex.
Did he die?
Nah, he pulled through, but he said he felt his lung pop and squirt.
Oh, mate.
Because his lung collapsed. They'll do that.
That's the kind of shit that'll scar you forever, mate.
Oh, yeah. So I'll read you the story. Zoe Adams of Wigton in the United Kingdom admitted to unlawfully and maliciously wounding with the intent to do grievous bodily harm for an attack during which she stabbed Kieran Bewick, then 17, 5 times in the chest, arm, and leg. The on-off couple had been drinking one night in July 2017 when Bewick got sick and went to bed. Adams, who had also been smoking cannabis, had 2 more shots before going to bed with him.
Madness, mate. Reefer madness.
Adams asked Bewick to put a pillow over his face to make it more kinky, and then she told him to trust me before stabbing him. But yeah, she was obsessed with the idea of human sacrifice, and said that men should be strapped up and used just for the purposes of human sacrifice. And she sent them all these texts. I mean, there was definitely indications there that she wasn't right. Put it this way.
Mate, Adams had clown makeup on doing the tack and knew Berwick feared clowns. Mate! If you needed any extra more creepy, but...
There's problems with this relationship. I'm going to say that.
Real problems.
Why? I don't know why she's fucking... Why you would be okay with that? Oh, shall I dress up as a clown tonight? Look, nah. Nah. But yeah, there's definitely indications that maybe she wasn't right. Like if a prospective sexual partner ever texts me and says, "Hey, you know, you're a man, right? Yeah. Men should be used for only human sacrifice and pleasing women, and they should all be killed." Probably going to call it there. Probably just going to call it there. I'm not going to say, you're so quirky. You're so quirky. So anyway, sex, right? It's driven us all mental. And recently, you'll have heard about incels. The mainstream media are going mad about the incels. We've talked about incels on this show before. For those of you who don't know, and I can't see how you wouldn't know, incel stands for involuntary celibate. It means basically men who can't get sex, right? And as we've seen, we exist in a time where people are just mental with sexual kinks and hang-ups, and sometimes a kink is perceived to be an identity, and, everybody wants to do a bit of everything, and sex is sort of out there and more prominent in society's thinking than it ever has been. And also, people are now feeling more dysfunctional if they're not participating in sexual activity. Now, I've always laughed at the incel movement because it's utterly pathetic. It's basically a group of deranged men who can't get sex. And I'll also add, if you ever read the incel subreddit, a lot of it were throwaway accounts trolling. Like, I'd probably say about 50% of what was posted on that subreddit wasn't even real. But yeah, it's just a lot of miserable guys who can't get sex. And they find other miserable guys, because this is what the internet does. It brings together people for good and ill. And they just share their deranged, warped take on women and how society keeps them down and how wrong it is they can't get sex and they're definitely nice guys. You've seen them. You've seen them with the fedoras. You know who I'm talking about. Well, anyway, why are we all talking about incels all of a sudden? Well, there was a guy called Elliot Rodger. Now, a lot of right-wing folk were, look, it's 10 people have been killed with a van in Toronto. I wonder what ideology they're going to follow. Well, wasn't Islam. Unlucky, my right-wing friends. You gambled and lost. In fact, the philosophy that this person ascribed to, unbelievably, was being an incel. And in a post which shows he's clearly mentally deranged, he publicly posted on Facebook, Private Manassian Infantry 0010, wishing to speak to Sergeant 4chan, please. The incel rebellion has already begun. We will overthrow all the Chads and Stacys. All hail the Supreme Gentleman, Elliot Rodger. Now, I'll say this. As someone who's populated 4chan, posts like this aren't abnormal. People make jokes about Elliot Rodger. Elliot Rodger was the guy who, was also very misogynistic and hateful of women and hateful of more successful guys, and felt like sex was all a game and I'm being played and I'm going to get revenge, and killed a bunch of motherfuckers because he's a piece of shit. And you'll often hear him, you'll see jokes and memes on 4chan about Elliot Rodger saying, Godspeed, brave. They all pretend that they worship him for what he did. And I'd probably say the vast majority, if you understand 4chan humor, it's just unbelievably jet black, dark humor. The vast majority of people don't think Elliot Rodger's a hero. They say it to be inflammatory and to get a rise out of people. That's how 4chan works. I feel that so much of this culture war would have just been fine if journalists ever understood 4chan. Like we were headed all this nonsense
known as 4chan.
Yeah, exactly, right? We would have headed it all off at the pass if we just realized that 4chan was meant to be a space where saying the most outrageous shit possible was like a badge of honor, and the vast majority of them don't believe anything they say, but unfortunately a small percentage of seriously deranged people do, and 4chan they reject those people. If you take it serious, you're immediately out of the club. That's the whole point. So it's ridiculous. But anyway, this Alec Manassian was now identifiable as being part of the incel group. So what journalists had to do, rather than just say this is a mentally ill person, clearly, who killed a bunch of people because he believed in some wider societal conspiracy to keep him down, prevent him having sex, making him a failure, they then did what they always do. They retroactively engineer the story to be whatever they want it to be. And the narrative since 2014 is that the internet is full of Nazis, full of people who hate women, full of people who hate minorities. And actually, we're all one group. So now they had a new buzzword, incel. And they seized upon it in the same. So if anybody ever needs to know that why Gamergate was bullshit, you can see here. You can absolutely deplore this crime, but to try and make out that the incel movement, first of all, how can it be a movement? The clue is in the name. It's involuntary. Nobody signs up to be. No one. If you're voluntary celibate, you're not an incel by definition. It's just a group of sad cunts on the internet, which pretty much describes almost every internet community ever. People who have very little else becoming overly invested in the one thing they identify themselves with. So you can absolutely be hateful of the crime, but to try and make out that the incel movement is a violent terrorist philosophy that has existed for years is just a lie. It is a patently false lie. You can link 2 people to it that have gone out and killed anything, and the rest are just a bunch of sad Reddit posters. That's it. But no, that's not how it's being approached. So the BBC reported it, as you can see there. Toronto suspect praised incel killer. And this led to just a bunch of mental, think pieces I cannot even begin to get my head around. Some, borderline comedy, some of the headlines. Check this out. This publication here, The Globe and Mail asks, can the radicalization of incels be stopped? How is this real life? How is this really a thing? That people believe the incel movement is linked to fucking Gamergate and Trump and the alt-right and all these other boogeymen that they invented to try and make it look like, though, that the majority of society is hostile and these leftists are a small, non-powerful enclave of good in a diseased world of pure evil. It's a fantasy. They're living out a fantasy. Just look at this. When I learned that the suspect in the Toronto van attack had apparently posted a Facebook message identifying himself as a foot soldier in what he called the Incel Rebellion, I was saddened, but not at all surprised. Really? You weren't at all I was pretty fucking surprised that a guy who mowed people down with a van, he wasn't doing it for a political faction, wasn't doing it for a terrorist faction. He was doing it for fucking 4chan. I was pretty fucking surprised because that doesn't happen. As the keeper of a blog devoted to tracking the culture of misogyny online, I have been watching the incel subculture for 7 years. And I find its rise in the past several years to be nearly as disturbing as the recent rebirth of the neo-Nazi right. That rebirth, which, by the way, shows that by any measurable metric, the number of Nazis in modern America, in modern society, is down. Incel as many Canadians have learned this past week, is short for involuntary celibate and is the preferred moniker. No one prefers it. And is the preferred moniker of a number of mostly young men united by a shared bitterness over their inability to persuade women to sleep with them. They let this fact define their entire lives and devote much of their time online lashing out at the women who don't want them and picking over the supposed flaws in their own appearances that they think render them forever unlovable. Anyway. This think piece basically says that turns out the incel movement is directly linked to right-wing politics somehow, for some reason. That Donald Trump gave the Donald Trump's election victory, it gave the incels a real shot in the arm. And again, I don't understand this. As we're finding out, Donald Trump is supposedly having sex with all these beautiful women and porn stars and just doing whatever the fuck he wants. So how is he an incel icon? I don't know. I'm pretty sure an incel would call Donald Trump a Chad. Isn't that right? But no, the radicalization of incels is the next thing to be mortally terrified of. The Guardian, they followed it up with another think piece. Raw hatred. Why the incel movement targets and terrorizes women. And it's like, yes, the incel movement does target women by definition. But let's not pretend this is a large subculture. Let's not pretend this is a mainstream subculture. Let's not pretend this isn't a subculture that is universally mocked on the internet by right-wing, left-wing, gamergators, what other fucking labels you want to throw around. The reality is that these people are pathetic and live their life pretty much in the shadows. They are not a threat in any way, shape, or form. Just because one person, right? Can you explain to me the dichotomy here, Sam, and how it's possible to hold this like cognitive dissonance in your mind? Right. We had a vegan shoot up YouTube's offices for being demonetized. She was an animal rights activist, a vegan, and she was pissed off that YouTube was demonetizing her channel and getting her message out. So she went to YouTube and she started to shoot up the place. And people said, she's a member of PETA, blah, 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 blah. But people say, well, you can't hold that against her. And you certainly can't hold that against animal rights activists. That's absurd. It's just one person. Oh, okay, cool. There's, whenever a religious nut job decides to kill a bunch of people for the religion, what do we say? We say, well, the philosophy is not to blame. You can't tar everyone with the same brush. Yet what I'm reading is that anybody who has ever disagreed with a woman online is now an incel, and the incels are now terrorists. And again, maybe I think there's a world of difference between going on Reddit and posting all women are bitches and running over 10 people in a van. I mean, again, I don't know. Maybe I'm not woke enough for this, but ridiculous. They even quote Angela Nagel, who's the author of the book Kill All Normies, Online Culture Wars from 4chan and Tumblr to Trump and the alt-right, of course. But yes, once again, Trump, the incels, Gamergate, it's all there. It's all together. We should have known, Sam. It was linked all along. I like this one. This was a good one. This was an article in something called the Outline.com. Now, think of all the people who exist on the internet. And again, remember, that's everybody, every group. The internet is now, it's not like something that a select few people have. Everyone has access to the internet. More and more countries are arguing the internet is a human right. And everybody should have access to it. You shouldn't deny anybody unless they're going to cause harm to other people, right? So the Outline.com wrote an article called Stop Trusting the Self-Mythology of the Worst People on the Internet. Incels are the worst people on the internet. Miserable sexual failures who are riddled with self-loathing and project it outwards to hate women and men who are more successful than them are the worst people. Not the pedophiles that prey on them. Nah, they're misunderstood. But the worst people on the internet are the incels, Sam. It's the incels. It's the incels all along. Let's talk about the incels. TheCut.com wanted to explain to people exactly what the incel rebellion was in an article. There is no incel rebellion. Like, do we believe that the incels are rising up and trying to take over society? Do we believe this? Do we think this is really happening? Or do we think one mentally ill person made a Facebook post once before getting arrested after killing a bunch of people? Which one's more likely? It says here, what is the incel rebellion? Well, it's something that the media has made up. It's something, yes, he used the words, the incel. That's like me saying, right, this is it, Sam. The Richard Lewis rebellion is happening. We're going to take over the world. It's not happening, is it, mate? It's just not happening. Even the people who subscribe, like, no one who subscribes to the show is going to go and, right, listen, guys, let's take over the world. All right, guys, let's do it. The Richard Lewis rebellion is coming. Like, it's not happening, is it, mate? There is no Richard Lewis rebellion. So dumb. But they still write a detailed breakdown of it. And how he was radicalized by incel rhetoric. And again, they always do the same thing. So he talks about Elliot Rodger. And he goes, if he was radicalized by incel rhetoric, he would not be the first young man to act on this. What about Elliot Rodger? Yeah, the only other guy who, I mean, like, again, it's almost like people don't understand what goes on with school shootings and people that go out and commit mass shootings. None of these people have fulfilled lives. That's why they want to murder people in order, and then commit suicide in order to attain some form of notoriety. Every psychologist, psychiatrist that breaks it down says you would get less of these shootings if media coverage didn't turn them into household names. And yet, here we are, doing it all the time, consistently, so we can have demons on the internet and talk about movements that aren't movements, that don't exist, that aren't organized. It's just sad people on the internet being sad and saying stupid, disgusting things to each other because they have nothing else. But, you know, it's like, you could probably argue the Columbine guys were, you know, like, how far do you want to stretch it? If being bullied for being a perceived failure by a social group leads you to commit deranged acts of violence, this isn't new. Just because the media has a label that they can jump on. Incels. Weren't they on the internet? Weren't they on Reddit? Wasn't Gamergate on Reddit? Didn't Gamergate get Trump elected? Blah, blah, blah. And they just spew this shit out. There is no incel rebellion. It's gibberish. The New York Times did a piece as well. When misogynists become terrorists. Now, again, I think that the media in general struggles with what the definition of a terrorist act is. They really struggle with it. Now, terrorism, as I understand it, is you use violence and means of terror for political goals, for political ends. That's what it is. In that sense, certain foreign policies are acts of terrorism. I do not see the political goal in what this killer did. Saying, it's the incel rebellion, the Chads and the Stacys are going to die. Where's the politics? Where's the politics? What political goal is he achieving? None. You cannot say this is a mass murder, this is horrific, this is disgusting, but it's not terrorism, and it's got nothing to do with race. Because immediately people go, oh, but if he was Islamic, you would say it was terrorism. Okay, if he was a member of a radical Islamic group that was screaming death to the West and wanting to install a caliphate in the West, yes, that is terrorism because he's trying to achieve a political goal. It's got nothing to do with the color of his skin. We've all seen the ginger jihadis, right? We've all seen them. There are plenty of white converts to radical Islam. They would be terrorists too. It's got nothing to do with the color of their skin. That is an insipid and just throwaway, glib point to try and deflect from the fact that you need to get a handle on what terrorism is. And it ain't this. This is just mass murder, common or garden. Somebody flipped the fuck out because they were a loser and they couldn't handle they were a loser. So they decided to be an even bigger loser by killing people to try and get attention for themselves. It's not terrorism. And then, of course, you remember Ellen Pao from Reddit?
Yep.
I thought this, I couldn't believe this tweet. I thought this was fake. I thought somebody had fucking done this. Like as a joke. But Ellen Pao, as we know, after being brought into Reddit to be the face of some unpopular decisions, because Reddit are duplicitous and they knew that she was basically a toxic asset because of her association with her husband and his Ponzi schemes and everything else. She came in, was the face of a bunch of unpopular decisions that Reddit completely sanctioned, was used as a patsy. She was involved in a frivolous gender discrimination lawsuit, which she lost because it was frivolous and it was an absolute joke. And now she spends her time basically trying to say how companies can be more diverse and better, even though actually, as was deposed and is now a matter of public record in the legal documents, nobody did more to hurt women's careers at where she worked than her. Every woman who she perceived to be a threat, she was hostile to, bullied. She broke the rules about having sex with male employees. This is all a matter of public record, and yet somehow this person is held up and lauded. Oh, listen to her. Listen to what she's got to say about companies. Well, she publicly tweeted, CEOs of big tech companies. Notice it's always tech companies. It's not that they just want the glamorous jobs, the glamorous, high-powered, rich jobs, wealthy jobs. Then they tunnel in on that, right? Because this could be true of any company, right? It's always tech. CEOs of big tech companies, you almost certainly have incels as employees. What are you going to do about it? Well, what do you propose I do if somebody in my company can't get laid? Yeah, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do about that? What do you want me to do about that? Should it be an interview question? Right, well, you've got all the qualifications for the job, Mr. Davis, but here's a bigger question. Do you fuck? When was the last time you got your end away? Oh, well, actually, I'm a little bit embarrassed to say this, but I never have.
Get him out.
Yep. Well, you might be a radicalized incel, so where you go, get out. This definitely won't push you towards more extreme forms of behavior. But I mean, so I know she was fucking her employees, so maybe that's like the solution in her. What are these CEOs going to do about it? Why would this ever be a consideration? Some of my employees in the tech industry might be losers who can't get laid. We must weed them all out. Crazy, right? I also noticed as well, there was this, the reset era. This forum's out of control. This was a thread that made me chuckle. Incels are becoming a real world threat. They're not. One person who killed a bunch of people made a Facebook post using the word incel. This is not an organized, radicalized terrorist movement. It's just a loser. He could have typed anything on Facebook. I'm sure he was obsessed with other stuff. If you went through his Facebook, he might have been, I don't know, a fucking fan of Queens of the Stone Age. That's not fucking radicalizing people, is it? But they had a real good debate here about it. On Reset Era, and it just blew my mind because let me see if I can find the post. There was one post where it was like the lack of awareness. Yeah, here it is. So this is by Ixon Pets. And he says, I don't think anything is creating incels. The internet has just provided a means for people who would have been weird loners in the past to congregate online and to spin increasingly deranged narratives about their supposed oppression of one another. What does that sound like? Sounds like people who are too fat for the rides at Harry Potter. Doesn't it? Sounds like people who believe in cultural appropriation. Sounds like everyone who's ever owned a Tumblr. What these people cannot see about the incels is the incels are just an inverted, extreme version of the overly progressive, we're oppressed losers. They have the same ideology. They believe society is oppressing them and is unfair and must change. You know, the SJW, the terminally offended, they believe it's for the reasons because of the patriarchy and white supremacy has infiltrated every facet of our lives. The incel believes that it's women. It's a matriarchy and women hold all of the cards in sex and they only deal them out to the wrong kind of men and it's so unfair and it must be stopped. At all. Hang on a minute. You motherfuckers should get in a room with each other because you're both deranged losers. Like, you could maybe together holistically you could complete each other. Who knows? And then finally, because The Spectator, which is a right-wing publication, also got involved with the incel fever. They proposed a solution, Sam, a solution I'm sure you're gonna love. So The Spectator said, here's how we cure the radicalization of the incels, which isn't happening. You give them a sex robot.
They'll be hacked, mate. They'll kill them. They'll use the robots, mate.
So there you have it. This is what the incels need. Give them sex robots, and we'll get rid of incels. Why not? So we'll start to wrap up the show now. That's the incels. I'll just add by saying again, and I've made this point before, if you ever need to understand that you are fed a narrative of garbage, a steady diet of absolute garbage, remember, this all started because a group of people on the internet said there may have been a little bit of collusion in mainstream games journalism and indeed in journalism at large. Now, yes, some of those people were deranged losers who went on to threaten and harass people, and it's completely unacceptable. The vast majority of those people were pointing out hard truths about an industry that is mired in corruption, and you would be incredibly disingenuous if you were a games journalist and you came out and you said you've never been offered quid pro quo or you've always followed disclosure rules when writing about, a friend's Kickstarter or a friend's game, or, it's just when it's happened. It's in the nature of the business. I've been accused of it. For example, when Robert Olin got fired from DreamHack, right? I was a friend of his. I told his story. I suppose if we were being completely honest, I should have recused myself, but I was the only journalist he would talk to, so it was either talk to me or not talk to me. So it gets murky, but people are right to try and keep journalists in line. And as I said, that movement became spun as a hate group, a hate movement, because of the actions of a very small lunatic fringe, which we know isn't how you judge any societal movement. It's not how you judge a movement. We're told repeatedly, you don't listen to the extremists. They don't represent the whole. And then that became, well, they don't just hate women, they're racist. And then it became, they're not just racist, they are actual card-carrying Nazis. They're trying to subvert the internet and seize power to harm people. And then it became, now that what they're doing is this small group of people, which, by the way, if journalists had not been outraged and lost their shit and told the lies they told about Gamergate, it would have gone away in 2 weeks. And we wouldn't be here still endlessly banging on about it. But they couldn't let it go. They couldn't take the L and admit there was maybe a problem in the industry. So then, somehow, this small group of people who talked about video games became the most powerful political lobby in America and got Trump elected. I'm supposed to believe that a bunch of people who said, wait, did you disclose that sponsorship? Did you disclose that? They also somehow became the fringe. This fringe group was actually bigger than we, and they got Trump in power. And then it turned out they did it because they were propped up, funded, agitated by Russia. That's why they did it. And now they're a terrorist organization because they're all secretly incels. This is all you need to know. This is garbage. None of this makes any sense. There is no clear line. The only thing all of these groups have in common is they are sick of being forced to choke down overly progressive politics. That is the only common thread through all of this. And that tells you all you need to know about who is pushing this narrative. Just because I don't necessarily like overly progressive politics does not make me a neo-Nazi. It doesn't mean I'm funded by Russia to say it. It doesn't make me an incel. They have collectivized all these different groups and subcultures on the internet. Absolute nonsense. Do not trust what these people have to say. They still lie about Gamergate and how it all came about to this day. They will not accept the hard facts, and these are unquestionable facts about how it got started. You're still not allowed to read it on Wikipedia. Somebody goes in every day and makes sure that article says exactly what they need it to say. And if anybody wants to tell you the truth, you just don't work in the industry. They just don't. You just can't. You objectively will not be allowed to. You're a gamer, bro, man. You hate women, man. You disagreed with a woman's opinion once. Therefore, you're an incel. You hate all women, man. Gamergate, man. I feel sorry for the people that got fucking suckered by that. Because the world they live in must be terrifying for them. Where gamers are the most powerful people in the world, and they've brought down journalism, installed a puppet president.
Fucking hell. The mob will be jealous of these cunts, man.
I know. And now they're just getting away with flagrant terrorism because they just hate the women so much. Forget all the male journalists they criticised. It was really all secret. Install the government, get the Russians. Now we're going to bring about a totalitarian dictatorship where all the women will have to please the incels. That was the master plan all along. That's what these journalists are peddling. It's fucking outrageous. So let's wrap up the show. Britain, Sam. Britain is shit. We're going to end with Britain is shit. It's still a fucking meme. We talked about how shit Britain was on the last show. Richard, yeah, cherry. It's just every day there's a story about how shit Britain is. Have a look at this up in Scotland, Sam. A man got arrested and sent to court for the heinous crime of having a potato peeler in public.
What did he have? Was he peeling potatoes like? Or did he just buy it?
He's a mentally ill man with learning difficulties who, for reasons unbeknownst to anybody, had a potato peeler in his pocket. Maybe he was peeling potatoes. Maybe he liked the potato peeler. He just had a potato peeler in his pocket, and the police arrested him, and he's now in court having to explain why he had a potato peeler in a public place. I live in Nevada. We can carry guns here. Open As long as they're not concealed, you can have a strap just out in public. And it's fine. But Britain, this man with learning difficulties has a potato peeler. Let's lock him up. Britain. How can you... What's he going to do? Take your fucking top
Peel
skin
your skin off, mate.
Peel your cap back. Come on. Fucking potato peeler. Then, just to also show you how shit Britain is, and the police are just a fucking absolute joke. This was the story in the Daily Mail where the police announced a drugs bust. I'll bring you up the image of the drugs bust here, Sam. I don't know why you would post it. One of the things that really irritates me about modern society is the police think, oh, we'll use social media. Like, they try and publicly shame people. They put your picture up. They announce their drug bust. Most people, right, like just want you to get on with your job. And I'm certainly hope you're not paying people to run these accounts, because I know actual police officers who are underpaid, overworked, backed up with overtime, don't have the right equipment to do their job, certainly don't have the right training to be better at their job, and you're spending money to pay some twat to tweet shit like this out and run a Facebook page. Get your priorities straight and put that fucking money, that salary, into something good. Right? You don't need this. No one gives a flying fuck. And when you do things like this, it makes you look like an absolute fucking clown. So look at this. They posted on Facebook, cannabis seized, right? And they posted this picture. Sam. Right? Sam.
That's not even a full zoot, mate. It's not even a full zoot.
That wouldn't...
You'd have to put tobacco in with that, mate. You'd have to fucking... It wouldn't be a viewer, like.
That wouldn't even... That's nout. Look at the size of the finger compared to it.
It's about down to the first knuckle, basically.
That is not even a fucking spliff. Real talk. So...
That's like a half a 10 bag. Half a 10 bag.
Right? And the police officer posted on Facebook, cannabis seized. And you're like, show me a brick. Show me something. Show me a pound of marijuana. Right? And why are you seizing it for anyway? We live at a time where America has legalized weed. In multiple states, and the UK are still doing this. And keep in mind, this was a person who was sat in a car. Sat in a car, doing fuck all, hurting nobody. Excuse me, sir.
You've got your alone license.
Yeah, exactly. Have you got your alone with your thoughts license, sir? You got a permit for that license, sir? Like, it's a fucking joke. So needless to say, when they posted this on Facebook, they were getting fucking wrecked. Everyone was just posting on it. Right? You're a clown. That was one. All the crime going on, and they're out taking people's last spliff off them. That's put a dent in the war on drugs. The cartels are all going fucking mental. So they couldn't take the L. Again, the police couldn't take the L, and they put up another Facebook post after being widely mocked, which you should be. This is not a cannabis seizure. This is not a seizure, is it, mate? You're having a seizure if you think this has done anything. This is a minor inconvenience. That's all it is, like. Right? And they put out another Facebook post saying, unfortunately, we have had to ban a number of people from using the Facebook page today. I would like to remind everyone this is a police page, and whatever your thoughts on one of my officers seizing drugs in the community are, being insulting, abusive, or offensive can and will result in prosecution under the Malicious Communications Act 1980. Grow the fuck up, take me to court. All these fucking nuts. What are you talking about? You fucking sad Jobsworth cunts. Again, this is a use of police time. Objectively, this is a use of police time. You are threatening people on Facebook for laughing at you seizing a spliff's worth of cannabis and bragging about it like you're doing something good for the community. You're not. That is a waste of time. And now you're wasting more time threatening people for stuff. There's no way the Central Prosecution Service would fucking support that. There isn't even anything bad. Calling somebody a clap. Sorry, good luck with that one. Absolutely fucking pathetic. Britain in a nutshell, right? But then, just to end the show, Sam. Right, I wanted to end on a high note, Sam.
No more sad stories.
No, because there was one, but I'm not going to do it. We'll save it. But we'll end on a high note, Sam. And the high note I wanted to end on is that finally, Port Talbot is getting the recognition it deserves.
Oh, God, what's happened?
Well, I never thought we'd be number one at anything, mate.
What is it, though? Heroin, alcohol.
I never thought Port Talbot would be number one on anything, right? And this was a report which has now apparently been revised. But for a brief period of time, Sam, we were number one, right? We were number one of the most polluted places in the UK, right? But we've had it taken off as there's been a recount.
No, not even first in that. Like,
oh no, I thought it was ending on a high note, and we've been fucked. We've been fucked. They changed it. I had this in my fucking.
Mate, we're not even top fucking. No. We're not even on there.
No. We were number one.
Not even there. Oh, it's bottom of the 17 that are at limit now.
We were number one. We had 18.
We're last, mate.
I know. I'm devastated. I was so looking forward to this. But anyway, this was a list of the most polluted towns and cities in the UK that exceed air pollution limits set by the World Health Organization. And for a period of 2 days, Port Talbot was number one. We were the king of black lung, right? But they've done a recount on it. And apparently,
we're just at the limit.
The tests they used were unfortunate. Unfortunate practices. So now we've fallen below Middlesbrough.
Fucking hell.
If you can believe it. Pretty sad. So number one with a bullet now is Scunthorpe. Who put the cunt in Scunthorpe, eh? So I'm sad, Sam. I thought we were going to end on a high.
Well, maybe that is a high. We're no longer the most polluted city in the UK, mate. It's changed. Over 2 days, we fixed a problem like that. This global warming shit's easy, mate. We fixing that overnight, mate.
We didn't fix now, did we?
They just read it wrong.
It just turns out we couldn't even read a pollution test properly. So there you have it. Oh, that's sad. That's ruined the whole show for me now. Fuck it. Well, let's have to end. So we do end on a sad note. Fuck Port Talbot. Fuck the incels. Fuck everything. So there we go. So I don't know when I'll next be doing a show. Obviously, we got the weekend. Sam's trying to enjoy some quality time now that he is effectively not working freelance anymore. And before he comes out to Vegas, I'm still trying to get him to come out here ASAP. I'm putting pressure on him. What'll help, guys, is if you tweet at lolbean.
Definitely would. It'll just make me come slower if we do it. For every tweet, it's 3 weeks added.
Every day, just tweet at him.
This
Sam, why have you?
This is cut out. I control the edit button, mate. You can't fuck me. What am I gonna do?
Just to you. I control the media. He's out of control.
Control the narrative around you.
Whatever. But definitely tweet at him. He loves it when you do that. And definitely follow him on Twitter and just tell him every day he needs to move out to Vegas so we can do real Fear and Loathing. It'll be good. Anyway, so we'll end the show there, I think, mate. So thanks to everybody who tuned in, subscribed, donated. I might do a demo review and some streams and shit a little bit later on today. Gonna go get some lunch. If you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for tuning in. And, of course, we will see you on the next episode of The Richard Lewis Show. Till then, take care.